What I'd like to say this afternoon, as we gather as friends and family to celebrate America's newest and 12th national holiday, Juneteenth, we are here to honor Black excellence, culture, community, and resilience. Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day and Jubilee Day, marks the anniversary of June 19, 1865. It was on this day that General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and announced the end of the Civil War and the liberation of slavery. This historic event signified the enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation more than 2 years ago, issued by President Lincoln in 1863. While Juneteenth set many Black people living in Confederate states free, it did not officially end slavery in the United States. It would take the ratification of the 13th Amendment in December of 1865 to permanently end slavery. Texas slave owners knew about the proclamation, but did not consider themselves part of the Union, and felt they could do as they chose. Much to our sadness, over 250,000 enslaved people were kept in bondage for an additional 2.5 years. I want everyone at this moment to sit quietly, close your eyes, and imagine what it must have been like at that time to be a slave, as I read the order that came from this general. General Order Number 3. In accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights, of property between former master and slave. The connection heretofore becomes employer and hired laborer. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed they will not be allowed to collect military posts and that they will not be supported in idleness, either here, there, or elsewhere. You can open your eyes. Can you imagine being born a slave, working, not knowing anyone, and now being told you're free? But on the other hand, being told you should work for higher wages for those same people. Nonetheless, those affected face numerous barriers to their freedom. You were free by name, but the actuality, you were not. After being emancipated, many formerly enslaved people left Texas in great numbers. Most members of the Exodus had the goal of reuniting with their families, their babies, their children, their husbands, their wives, their mothers, who have been sold all across the country. This widespread migration of former enslaved individuals after June 19th became known as the scatter. Lots of us know about the Great Migration, but this was known as the scatter. They scattered all over the country to find their families. So, how else do we acknowledge this? We have a flag, the Juneteenth flag, which took 132 years later to come into existence. The flag was created by Ben Hay, the founder of the National Juneteenth Celebration Foundation, in 1997, and was revised in 2000. The white star on the flag has more than one meaning. It is believed to represent the North Star. We all think about the North Star when we think about Harriet Tubman. Slaves using the Underground Railroad used the North Star to guide them to freedom. The second possible meaning for the star references the one star, the state of Texas, where slaves learned of the emancipation 2 years later. The burst around the white star is called a nova, or new star. It symbolizes a fresh start and a new beginning for enslaved people everywhere. It reflects the promise and hope of a new America without slavery. Just like the images on the flag, each of the colors have also an important meaning. The red, white, and blue colors tie into the American flag. It shows those who were enslaved were American, just like their descendants. The blue color sits above the red, allowing the white star to take center stage. It is a powerful reminder that Black Americans have equal part in its history. One other thing about the color red symbolizes the blood that was shed by Black Africans and Black Americans during slave capture, slave travel, and slave trade here in the United States and the Caribbean. It took another 156 years from the day of that emancipation to actually come up with a fight, a discussion, a plan to secure a federal holiday. This federal holiday that we celebrate did not come easy. The first person to acknowledge it and to begin the fight was Reverend Ronald B. Myers, who founded the National Juneteenth Observance Foundation. The second, U.S. Representative Congresswoman Sheila Jackson from Texas. She introduced the passage of the June 19th National Independence Day Act into the House of Representatives. The third group that helped get this established was the Black Lives Matter movement. And the fourth is something that I find just so endearing, is an individual by the name of Opal Lee. Many of you may have heard of her. At the age of 89, she began walking 2.5 miles every June 19th to signify the 2.5 additional years people served in slavery. The issue with this is, and so special, is that on June 19th, she and her family in 1939, their home was burned. And she was 12, she could not get over that from the age of 12. And then she became very, very important in community advocacy, working for fair housing, working for equity. And she said, you know, at the age of 89, I'm not done. June 19th should be a holiday. And that is what happened. You may have seen her, actually, she's 100 years old today. Starting in 2016, she made sure by getting petitions, getting people to support her, walking around the country, that individuals became aware of June 19th. What is important to note is that she collected over 1.5 million signatures during her walk. Now remember, she started this at the age of 89. On June 17, 2021, she got a call from President Joe Biden that he had signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law. And Miss Lee was there. And she danced all around the Oval Office, but she ended by saying, this is just the beginning. Hello. One of the things I want to just share briefly as we reflect on this day is what is the impact of June 19th on America today? It's not just a celebration. It's not just a time to have red food. It's not just a time to wear the kente cloth. If we look at public awareness and education, The federal designation has vastly increased the national awareness. It provides an entry point for schools, cultural centers, and corporations to host educational programming, filling critical gaps in standard United States curricula regarding Reconstruction era and the complexities of emancipation. Number two, there are many debates over history and truth-telling. Juneteenth plays a direct role in contemporary political and cultural debates. Legal defense and civil rights groups view the holiday as a mandate for truth-telling about America's past. Conversely, its implementation coincides with ongoing legislative battles in various states aimed at restricting classroom discussions on systemic racism, white privilege, and historical oppression. We are living that now. Number three, the whole sense of economic and policy disparities. While recognized federally, the holiday highlights legislative fragmentation. Over 30 states do not legally observe Juneteenth as a paid public holiday for state employees. I think we all took it for granted that that was a national thing going on. No, 30 states do not. For activists, this structural divide serves as an annual reminder of the gap between symbolic recognition and tangible legislative equity. Of course, we all talk about the commercialization and preservation of our history. The mainstream adoption of the day has sparked tensions between authentic cultural preservation and corporate commercialization. Black communities increasingly push back against the corporations marketing, benefiting off of the holiday. We wish to prioritize grassroots festivals. We will prioritize supporting Black-owned businesses and dedicating the day to activism. The fight for civil rights must be fought and won with each generation. Our freedoms will not be permanent unless we in each generation are committed and diligent to fighting for them and collecting them and securing them.